Hey guys, so I'm gonna give you a nighttime story because I'm freaking tired, but I have to get it out because these journal entries kind of are for me a lot of times. So, last night in my dreams, I went to see an old friend and he was feeding an alligator, and it was super scary at first, but he was showing me how he was training it, and he was feeding it little bits of food, and he'd feed it some water, and eventually the alligator started talking, and I was like, holy shit, the alligator communicates, and the alligator started becoming more humane and more trained, and eventually it transformed into a man. And towards the end of the dream, I became very comfortable with it, and I was holding the man's feet, which is very symbolic of trust, as if you study psychology or body language, anybody who lets you touch their feet trusts you, or if you touch someone's feet, you trust them. That's why in relationships, if you can always tell if somebody actually likes the other person, is because their feet will be turned towards the other person. Anyway, so that's symbolic of that. But then the second part of the dream, all these men showed up on their alligators, and they were riding them, but they were going to war, and they were trying to control their alligators. And one alligator, the captain's alligator, got curious, and she went after a fish, and he punished her by stabbing her with a sword. Not enough to kill her, but just enough to injure her. Well, to save the men, because the alligators were getting so mean and big and rambunctious that they almost turned on the men, a little boy pulled out a knife and sliced all the alligators' heads off. So we're going to talk about the reptilian mind. We have three parts of our brain. Whether you believe in Nin, that she came down and sliced up human DNA and put the reptilians in us, or you just believe we evolved from reptilian to or amphibian to mammal to bird. Some believe we have 4 parts of our brain. That's all the different animals. Some believe we have 3. We're going to talk about the reptilian, the limbic, and the neural cortex. I'm not really going to go much into the limbic or the neural cortex. Just a minute, baby. Almost done. The limbic or the neocortex. The neocortex would be symbolic of like Neo from the Matrix. It's the one. It's connected to everyone. It's consciousness. The reptilian's more the subconscious mind, and which most people are propelled by their subconscious. They're unaware of why they do what they do. This is why media gets to us, because it plays off of our emotions, our fears. This is also why we are an addicted society. People use sex because that's our reptilian side, to get us addicted to sex porn. People that are addicted to sex, they're allowing their animalistic or the reptilian side to take over. Hi! And a lot of reasons why this happens is because our society also tries to suppress it and try to control it. And so, like, that would be like your religions, like a priest who tries to control his sexuality by not having sex eventually becomes the monster that molests little boys, because he's that man who punishes himself every time he has a sexual thought, and gets curious. I also did this. I was raised in a religious culture that shamed like sexuality, and so I like never kissed my boyfriend. I think I kissed him one time when I was in high school in 7 years, and so I was very suppressed and was very controlled, and I eventually had a mental breakdown as I got older because I was so controlled. So that ego self has to die, and you have to kill the alligator to be able to start over again, so that you can function as a whole-minded person. So when people do this, or how do you feed the curiosity? Feed and nurture the reptilian side of yourself. That is a very curious question, because I'm not quite sure, but based on the dream, I would say give it little nibbles here. Follow your curiosity. Follow that little fish. If there's something that makes you very, very intrigued, follow that intrigue. Don't always say no to yourself. Now, you've got to learn how to say no, because there's the two extremes. There's the part of that is trying to control and ride the alligator, And then there's the part of it, and that's like ride your ego until it gets so big. Eventually, something has to sabotage it. Like you get so big, you get so into your sexual addiction that eventually something horrible has to happen before you can mellow the fuck out, right? Until you grow up and realize, oh my gosh, I caused all these pain. Or there's the person who controls it and never lets it eat, and so it's always angry, and so it's always at war with other people because it's never happy inside, it's never content, it's always starving for something, so it's never this is probably why a lot of people are like always feel hollow inside, because they're starving, they're starving themselves, they're denying themselves something so much to the point where they're always feeling empty, and so they're always like hungry for something. And then there's the one who nurtures it. So I would say let's talk about shopping. Because people target us through our animalistic instincts, our reptilian side. This is how marketing works. They'll play with your fear. Buy now or you'll lose this great opportunity. They'll slash and put sell signs on there. They'll do whatever they can to make us believe we have to act now. So say no to all the sells, but then when you do see something you really, really want, buy it. Honor that part of yourself. Don't feel selfish for doing it. Just buy it because you want it. But don't buy into all of these sells and these advertisements. They'll use a lot of imagery because the reptilian side they'll use a lot of pictures. So if you see a lot of pictures and teeny little words, they're totally playing with your reptilian side. So don't feed that part. Don't allow them to feed the ego aspect of it. But definitely give it little nibbles here and there. Don't suppress yourself completely sexually. Don't allow yourself to be, but then at the same time, don't give completely into it. Learning how to balance this is going to help you learn how to transform that animalistic side of your brain, the reptilian side, and help you create a balanced mind altogether. Anyways, just some little diary entries, just because it was the dream I had last night. It's also very funny because I actually had a spiritual guide who would come into my dreams a lot, and he was trying to teach me this last year, but he kept telling me to ride my Rex, which would be my animalistic or my reptilian side. But based on what I saw in my dream last night, I wouldn't ride it. I would transform it. I would turn it into something human, something I can relate to. Because the more you could try to control it, from what I saw when I tried to write, or those that were trying to control it and write it, it didn't end well for them. They ended up having to have theirs killed and have an ego death. So I would definitely nurture it and show compassion to it and transform it. That would definitely be my take from what I dreamed. Anyways, thanks for letting me share. And I would totally look up, like what I'm saying is totally valid. Look up reptilian brain online and you'll totally see what I'm saying is valid. Most people are unconscious of this part of their brain, and so they allow it to control them. Anyways, so fascinating stuff. Thanks so much, and you guys have a blessed day.